You're on the Couch Cage side with your host, Kyle Delaney for CouchParty.co. And this installment, I would like to recap the second episode of The Ultimate Fighter, Faber versus Cruz. And in this episode, there was a lot going on. Both fighters, both Faber and Cruz, got to pick their teams, and also resulted in a fight, a live fight between Crookshank and Vic. Now, what ended up happening in the beginning of the episode, obviously, they get the opportunity to flip the coin, and Uriah Faber ends up winning. And instead, he gets the option to either pick the first fighter or pick the first fight. Faber opts to pick the first fight and not the first fighter, giving Dominick Cruz the first pick. Dominick Cruz picks Justin Lawrence. Okay, high-profile guy, fights out Blackhouse, good striking, well-rounded game. Faber responds by picking Ian Quinta, the man who trains with Sarah. Cruz then picks Cecilia, Mr. 8-second knockout. Following that, Faber picks Marcelo, a guy he was really impressed with his grappling. Marcelo is one of the older guys in the house, and very good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. After that, Cruz picks Miles Jury, very good grappler, was on TUF before, had to leave due to injury. After that, Faber picks Crookshank, who ended up fighting later in the night, one of his top picks, well-rounded, high-octane pace, good striking. Cruz picks Mike Rio, good grappling, good overall fighter. After that, Faber picks Proctor, a man who showed great resolve and patience in his fight, ended up winning his fight by submission. After that, Cruz picks Vic, the high-profile boxer, biggest guy in the house, long reach, ended up fighting later in the night against Crookshank. Faber ends up picking Keisha, a very good grappler, good submission skills. We'll learn a little bit more about Keisha later on in the video. After that, Cruz picks Pitchell, a lot of resolve in his first fight, fought off submission attempts and grappling the entire fight, ended up winning his fight via rear naked choke. Faber then picks Kofor, good wrestling, and Cruz then picks Tickle, guy who wanted to end up being on Faber's team. Uriah Faber didn't think that he would pick Tickle, but Cruz ended up picking him just to get back at Faber. I guess that's the way these guys are doing their trash talking, Faber and Cruz. Faber picks Ogle, the only English fighter in the house. Then Cruz picks Larson, and I guess Mr. Irrelevant in the draft, Faber's pick is Saunders. So that's what ended up rounding it out. Those were the picks. Now, if we're going to look at the teams on paper, I think both teams are different, and I think it has to do a lot with the fighters that we're picking, the fighters itself. I think Dominick Cruz's team is the team that has more fighters that finish fights, the guys who bring a lot in the stand-up game, a lot of electrifying fighters. That's just what I see when I look at Dominick Cruz's team. Uriah Faber's team looks more like the gritty guys. He does have finishers on his team. He has a lot of grapplers, a lot of tough and gritty guys who are going to out-tough their opponents. That's just what I see from both fighters. If I were to pick a team that I would choose who I would want on paper, I would take Dominick Cruz's team. But those are the two teams for the fighters. Just a couple things that happened in the episode. Like I said, Dominick Cruz picked Tickle, who wanted to be on Uriah Faber's team. But I like Tickle's attitude. Dominick Cruz is, I don't want to say giving Tickle a hard time while they were training, but he was riding him. He was being very critical of his work. And I like Tickle's response of, he had no problem, not being on Faber's team. I think it was more you could learn a lot of things from different fighters. That's a really good mentality to have, is simply that, you can learn. It doesn't matter what rivalries there are, what people you choose to train with. You can learn something from everybody. And you can most definitely learn something from Dominick Cruz. And just both fighters' practices, I think Uriah Faber had a very good team mentality practice. A lot of good things going on. Very, very supportive of his fighters that he picked. I think Dominick Cruz had a great practice as well. Very high-octane practice. He had a station set up with all different skill sets to see how well balanced these fighters were, who needs improvement, who needs to work on specific things. I thought both had very good practices, definitely emulated the two fighters. Not only did their picks do it, but also their practices. Then some drama happened in this episode. Mike Chiesa gets a phone call, and his father had passed away. So it was very sad news for him to hear. Obviously, I'm going to say that I hope Mike Chiesa, I hope his father rests in peace. I hope Mike Chiesa found a closure and is able to compete and move on in the later episodes. And I think Dana White giving Chiesa a day to go and be with his family, to give him closure, to say his goodbyes, and to be with his loved ones was a very good move by him. Everybody deserves that one day. And really, then Chiesa, there's been a lot of fighters who have left the TUF house because of things that popped up back at home. Chiesa's choosing to stay. I really like the part how he went to go see Cecilia. They've been friends for a while. Cecilia ended up being very supportive, a good friend, good housemate. It was good to see that. But Chiesa chooses to stay around. He's going to stay and train, and it just shows a lot about how much of a warrior he is. He has a lot going on at home. Obviously, nobody likes to lose family members. Death is a very tough thing, especially in life. But he's going to stay around. It shows how tough of a guy he is, how badly he wants to be the Ultimate Fighter, and how he's going to be dedicated to it. So it shows a lot about the guy. Hats off to Mike Chiesa. Once again, may his father rest in peace. So this comes down to the episode comes down to the fights being picked, and Uriah Faber gets the choice of the fight. He chooses Darren Cruikshank from his team, one of his top picks, to go against Vic, the boxer, one of the biggest guys in the house, longest reach in the house. And this is, it's an interesting fight stylistically. You have two strikers. I don't know what Faber was thinking with this pick. I try and put a grappler against the guy who isn't so much a strong grappler on Dominic Cruz's team, but that's what Faber was going with. He pretty much put two strikers in the octagon together, but Cruikshank's well balanced. Vic's a little raw, but he's a big guy. So they start training. Dominic Cruz is working on with Vic on how to let his hands go, how to move in the octagon, and then Dominic Cruz's jiu-jitsu coaches were working on how to lock in submissions with the neck using his long arms, Vic using his long arms. Cruikshank, they were working on just, his striking. Now he was training with the Brazilian jiu-jitsu coach how to get out of chokes that Vic could possibly put him in. And then we get to our live fight. And this fight, I'd say, was an entertaining fight. It was a quick fight. And talk about a complete shift of momentum. Cruikshank comes out. He's dominating, octagon control. He's the aggressor in the fight. Vic looked very uncomfortable in his feet. He did look raw. He's very new to MMA. He's only been doing mixed martial arts for over a year. But he looked raw. He failed to let his hands go. He didn't use his reach. Cruikshank he looked like a bigger version of Frankie Edgar, giving multiple looks, popping in and out of the pocket, kicking the body, spinning back fist, popping in and out. And Cruikshank was very confident, but I want to say was almost overly confident. And in this sport, anything's possible. Cruikshank ends up popping forward in the pocket. Vic checks a leg kick and lands the knee right to Cruikshank's face. Cruikshank gets knocked out cold, completely. Gets knocked out cold. And I think, what was it? Vic actually ended up helping him down to the mat, so he didn't hit his head or whatever. But it was a good fight, but it just shows, Vic, it just shows how momentum could change in a fight. Anything's possible at any time. I think Cruikshank fought a good fight, but in the end he got caught, and Vic ended up, he lives to fight another day. And the good thing about Cruikshank, he may not be the Ultimate Fighter or have the chance to be the Ultimate Fighter, but he does get to train and continue in the TUF house and gets to learn some valuable lessons. So what ends up happening at the end of the episode, the fight is announced for next week. Dominic Cruz picks Justin Lawrence, and he gives Uriah Faber the chance to pick his teammate of who he would like to fight Justin Lawrence. Uriah Faber asks who would like to step up the plate. Nobody raises their hands on his team. Team Cruz gets a good laugh about it. And then Dominic Cruz ends up picking Cristiano Marcelo, one of Uriah Faber's top picks. So the fight next week will be stand-up striker, Team Blackhouse fighter Justin Lawrence versus the experienced veteran, trains with Vanderlei Silva and Shogun Rua, Cristiano Marcelo. This is going to be a great fight. You have two of the top draft picks. And I'm going to do the prediction on this one, who I will be taking in this fight. I'll be taking Justin Lawrence in this fight. I think his speed, the way he moves around the octagon, and his aggression, his striking, he'll give Marcelo multiple looks, and I don't think Marcelo will be able to get a hold of him. I think Justin Lawrence wins this fight via knockout. And I think that's what will end up happening and how that fight will materialize, and giving Dominic Cruz's team, or Team Cruz, 2 wins in a row, 2 weeks in a row. And that's just the recap for the second episode of The Ultimate Fighter, Faber versus Cruz. And that's what I have for this edition of the Cage Side Couch. This is Kyle Delaney signing off. I'm out of here.